What's up, everybody? You're back in here with the Pro Football Pod. You've got Hulk, you've got Coach. We're back in here. We've continuing on the preview series for you guys. Baltimore, you're up with this one. Austin, shout out to you. Austin just had his new little girl, so he's on daddy duties right now. We're going to keep this train rolling. What's up, Coach? How's it doing, buddy?
It's doing. I looking at this, like, you'd think that this division was actually really close, and in like the records they kind of were, but whenever you look at like the PFF scores, there was one team that was really, really good, and then a bunch of teams that had a bunch of holes and a bunch of things that they did really bad on throughout the season. Like their pass blocking was pretty much atrocious for everybody except for the Ravens. And just in general, like the Ravens defense is so much higher ranked than the Bengals defense. It's not even close. So I feel like what our projections were before the year started and like what they are now, what's your expectation for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, I know that that's not who we're talking about right now, but like, do you expect them?
You literally had my brain. I was like, wait, do I have the right stuff pulled up right now?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Like, do you think the Steelers are going to be really good, or like, are they going to be barely mediocre again?
I think the Steelers are looking at a rebuild. They're just not wanting to admit it.
Yeah.
Like, because it's Steel City. We're blue collar. Like, we're working for everything. Like, they're not wanting to admit it, but a full rebuild is absolutely needed for them, in my opinion, at least offensively.
Yeah.
Which they're trying to do, and hopefully Justin Fields has a resurgence, but they're not going to be able to contend with the Ravens. Like, this Ravens roster with how good they were last year, and we'll get into the guys that they lost, but adding Derrick Henry just by themselves for that specific, what he's going to be asked to do on that team, with the way the Ravens love that power running game anyways. So you've got to prepare for one of the best power running backs of all time.
Yeah.
Like, of all time, as well as one of the most athletic, if not the most athletic quarterback we've ever seen outside of Michael Vick. Like, that's what they can do with their offense just with those two guys is absolutely insane for me. Not to mention they were able to bring in Devontae Walker in the draft as well, Rasheen Ali at running back, who I really liked coming out as a late round flyer. So Rashad Bateman, people have been saying it for a couple years. Is he actually going to turn it on? They're talking about,
Flowers getting his second year under his belt. He looked great last year. Of the rookie class last year, he was easily the best wide receiver of last season. Rashi Rice did really, really well.
Outside of Puka Nacua.
Well, yeah, I guess of like the first rounders.
First round guys. I see what you're saying. Yeah, and I agree. He was definitely the most talked about.
Yeah.
So the guys they lost, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, lost their whole backfield. But if you bring in Derrick Henry, you can afford to do that.
Who's the rookie that they had that was balling last year? He's like the
Keaton
Devon
Mitchell.
A-Chain. Keaton Mitchell.
Now, the thing with Keaton Mitchell right now is it's a big question on when exactly is he going to be ready to go in the season after tearing his ACL.
Yeah.
So my guess is you're looking more about mid-season for him. They've still got Justice Hill on the roster, and like I said, they drafted Rasheen Ali as well. So, okay, we're fine there. Losing Devin Duvernay, that's going to hurt on their special teams because he was more of an effective returner than he was a receiver. He was more of a gadget guy, let's just be honest there. Geno Stone at safety, John Simpson at guard, Patrick Queen, big loss to the defense, huge loss, and Kevin Zeitler at guard. So they lost both of their offensive guards and Patrick Queen on the defense. Now, when you have Roquan Smith, okay, but those two together, that was awesome.
Because Patrick Queen had a good career before Roquan got there. But once Roquan got there and both of them were able to split their duties where one is responsible for run stopping and one is more responsible for coverage and blitzing, that's where they kind of took over the league in that middle of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Roquan's an amazing player. I'm glad that he got paid. I think that he might potentially take a step back without having Patrick Queen to like supplement him. It's not that he needed it, but he never was as good as he was in Chicago as he was last year. Like last year, we just saw him take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's another year to show, are you make yourself worth the money that we paid you.
Yeah.
Getting more into their draft class there as well. Nate Wiggins in the first round at corner. I like the pick. Like, he's a little undersized, okay, but he's scrappy and he's got the speed to be able to keep up with dudes down the field. And they saw last year that was a problem.
And that's something you need from a Baltimore player. You need them to be a little bit scrappy. I think that's why Zay Flowers, even though he's undersized, he played big. He played strong. Like, he dropped that potential touchdown in the playoffs, but like still, like that's such a thing for Baltimore players, an identity.
Yep. Adisa Isaac. I like that pick for him. Linebacker out of Penn State, 6'4", 253 that they took in the draft there. Devontae Walker, we mentioned. TJ Tampa. I love that they were able to get him as well, and they doubled up on corner. They saw where the main weakness was on their defense last year, especially due to injuries. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and stock up on young guys there. And then I like the pick of bringing in Devin Leary at quarterback as well. A little different coming out of Kentucky as far as his play style when you compare it to Lamar, but can you, outside of the guys that they've had in the past with like Tyrod Taylor and I have no idea why the name is slipping on me.
From the CFL, the guy that played at the...
Yeah,
he looks just like Lamar, but not.
Yeah, he went to the Pro Bowl. Like it's right here on the. I just without looking it up and wasting time, but I like that pick. I like Devin Leary as a passer. I think as the just pure in shorts thrower of the ball, he was one of the better throwers of the ball in the draft this last year. Just people said the same thing about Josh Rosen, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into these player ADPs here and see where you find a little bit of value for these guys. Now, I'm sure what's posted and what you guys will see on any of the sites you look at, these might be slightly off, just depending on when these notes were done. So Lamar sitting at the number 4 quarterback, number 39 overall, pretty much where I expect him to go. I think if the injury factor wasn't a thing, he probably would go a little bit higher. You've got Derrick Henry, number 11 running back, number 34 overall. And Keaton Mitchell, even with the injury, number 59 running back, number 189 overall.
Do you feel like if you get Derrick Henry, that picking up Keaton Mitchell is a necessity, or because of the injury, he's somebody that really shouldn't be drafted? We should be looking to like get him later in the season when there's like rumors of him coming back.
See, I don't think Keaton Mitchell necessarily would be a necessity as a handcuff. It would be more, I would pick him up anyways, because when he does come back, they are going to use him, and he's a much different player than Derrick Henry is, like in every facet of all of football, size, ability, all of it.
He's being drafted before Justice Hill as well. Justice Hill, exactly. 72-235 overall.
Exactly. So with that, like, I'm taking Keaton Mitchell anyways, just for what he can give me midway through the season or towards the end of the year. Getting into the wide receivers there, you've got Zay at, we got him listed at number 25 wide receiver, 47 overall. And then a large drop off to Rashad Bateman at number 199 overall, and Devontae Walker, the next highest one, at 207. Now
Um,
we know why there's the drop off.
because for Bateman at least, everyone knows that he's unreliable. Like nobody wants to roster him and have them sitting on their team, potentially holding them back from another slot where somebody has some upside, where they could end up outplaying their ADP. The likelihood of Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and Bateman all having value, as well as Derrick Henry, on that offense is very unlikely. They've been trying to be a run first team for years, but their running backs have just gotten hurt and they haven't been able to
Hmm.
really do it. I think that Zay Flowers is still going to be able to have his value. Same with Andrews, because they're not super high volume guys. They're big plays, they're touchdowns. Like that's where they get their value.
I agree. And like you said, it's not even a knock on Lamar. It's just how their offense is ran.
Yeah,
Like their offense isn't a high volume 45, 50 passes a game style offense. If Lamar's throwing that many times in a game, there's probably been a few problems. And then you've got Mark Andrews, the number 4 tight end, number 51 overall. Now,
that
with his value, I still will say he's one of the few tight ends to where a handcuff with Isaiah Likely is absolutely necessary.
absolutely because the moment the
So
Mark
you've
Andrews
seen
goes
what
down,
Likely gives you too when
exactly.
he's given the starting nod.
He's the same. Like as soon as Andrews is gone, you're gonna get an 80% of Andrews, and likely is
What you
undrafted.
lose,
He's
what you lose
185.
in the secure catching with Mark Andrews, you gain with more athletic ability and top end speed with Isaiah Likely.
Yep.
So you're kind of picking the beast there a little bit. But I had Isaiah Likely, picked him up off the waiver wire as soon as Mark Andrews went down, snatched him up, and I started him over Kyle Pitts in the end of the season. Like
Yeah.
it, so it he is absolutely a handcuff, and it's one of the few times you'll hear us mention that a tight end has a handcuff to him.
And it's only because of the potential injury risk. The other thing for me is that the risk of taking a player that might get injured at 51 by being able to take with one of my last picks the player that takes all of that risk away makes it to where I'm targeting Mark Andrews. You used to have to spend an early third round pick to get Andrews. Like, at least. Sometimes a late second. Definitely never later than a third, though. To be able to get him at the top of the fifth, end of the fourth round, that's where I love his value. I think that getting 2 or 3 players before him and then he's my fourth player means I've already got 2 star wide receivers, maybe 3 Andrews, and then I can just start worrying about running backs from round 6 to 9.
Yeah, I mean that's round 5, 6, 7. That's where I start to look for a tight end if I'm trying to go in that area. Because if not, then I'm absolutely waiting until rounds 12 to 14. Because that in between, you're not really getting much value there. So I mean, I agree with you. We've seen Mark Andrews; he can finish as a top 3 tight end, absolutely, with Lamar Jackson. I have to handcuff him with that Isaiah Likely.
And he's not even being jumped by George Kittle anymore. It's Trey McBride that's expected to do better than Mark Andrews. I love Trey McBride's game, and I think he's going to get a lot of
He was a
opportunities.
baller at the end of the year.
I just don't know if I would take Trey McBride over Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is so sure-handed. He loves to get fed the ball in that offense. Like he's such a big body target, great in the red zone. Trey McBride's a little bit more athletic, a little bit more youthful, doesn't have the injury concern. But from what offense do I want to be a part of? What offense do I think is going to make it to the red zone more often? It's absolutely Mark Andrews. You obviously have to deal with the vulture aspect of Lamar, but I'm okay with that. And be able to take Lamar at the end of the fourth and then wrap around and take, end of the third, and, even in the fourth round to take Andrews, I would be okay with that. 2 star wide receivers, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and my team looks very good from like a
Hmm.
value across the board like aspect.
I agree. And Derrick Henry for me, I understand the age concern, so this is strictly speaking on a redraft league, your non-dynasty. I like that value for him in round 3, which allows me to go all in on wide receiver the first 2 rounds. It is, though, a high risk, high reward type of pick because of the age and how exactly are they going to use Derrick Henry. Like you're hoping it's, hey, we paid him, we're unleashing him. Like that's what you're hoping for. But all of this can still be said about Christian McCaffrey with one of the first 2 picks. Will this be the year he gets the injuries, or like? So that's always going to be a thing.
28, like that's a thing.
Yeah, so that's always going to be a thing. But for me, I do like that value there with Henry. I like Zay's value as well. Looking at their defense, didn't lose really anybody off of that defense that you were mentioning. I mean, you've look at the PFF grades if that's your flavor.
Was Calais Campbell there last year?
No, Calais Campbell was in Atlanta last year.
So he was there a couple of years ago, but they've kind of already replaced him.
Yeah, they re-signed Justin Madubuike, gave him a large contract this year. They've got Odefe Owe coming through. He's coming up. They've still got Kyle Van Noy. Kyle Hamilton was an absolute baller last year. We mentioned the 2 corners that they drafted and Adisa Isaac, the linebacker. So they're shoring up their defense a little more. Right now, just looking at it, team-wise overall, I don't see how this team doesn't win their division again.
Yeah, I agree. The only way that they don't is if the Bengals, with Joe Burrow...
They're favored to right now.
The Bengals with Joe Burrow,
it's understandably so,
could be the difference maker, right? They could be.
I don't
think it is.
Comparing the Bengals offense with Joe Burrow and the Ravens offense with Lamar, I'll give you a wash. Like, okay, they tied there.
And then the defenses are just vast.
That's it. Like when it comes to the defenses, the Bengals are praying the Ravens will make a mistake, whereas the Ravens are forcing you to make a mistake. Like that's the difference in their defenses to me. So looking at their over-under right now, set at 11.5, went 13-4 last year, won the division in 2023. Is this going to be the year for them? Are they looking Super Bowl bound this year?
I think that they're definitely going over 11.5 wins. They're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 seeds in the AFC. Like, it's going to be very difficult to convince me otherwise because defense wins championships, man. Like, whenever you have a star defense like that, and it's not 1 or 2 players. The reason that the Pittsburgh defense competes is because of TJ Watt. The reason that the Baltimore Ravens defense competes is because of their coaching, it's their culture, it's so many aspects. I think that 12 wins is absolutely on the horizon.
Just glazing over their schedule here, I can easily count out 10 to 11 wins. So I'm going to go over on that just because, like, everything I have said in this episode, they've gotten better to me. Like, I don't think they've lost very much. Their offensive line, like we mentioned, it absolutely took a hit. But, I mean, the rest of their team to me just got stronger. I think their defense got stronger with the rookies they brought in. I think their offense got better by adding Derrick Henry. Yeah, I'm all in on the Ravens this year. I'm hoping they can pull off something to where, Lamar can get some of that monkey off of his back there with the whole getting further into the playoffs. So we'll see what they can do for you. Hey, Ravens fans, we appreciate you. If you stuck around this long, please hit that subscribe button down below, that notification button up there. Once we hit 500 subscribers, we're giving away a free jersey of your choice to one of you lucky viewers. We'd love for it to be a Ravens fan, like what Coach is wearing right there. TulsiRoseTee.com. We love you guys. Peace out.